You know, November came in here and showed her ass. So I didn't read as much as I thought I was gonna read. But we're gonna talk about it anyway. Welcome back to Shelby and the Book Club. I am Shelby Monet, and in today's video, we will be talking about all of the books that I read in November 2024. It was a very interesting month. I had the intent of reading way more, and oddly enough, I read more than I thought I did. I felt like I've only really read 2 books, but you'll see in a second that I read way more than 2 books, and I read some really good books this month. So if you would like to hear it, here we go. Before we get started, always remember that all books will be linked down below. Where? In the underneath a bar. It is called the underneath a bar because it is underneath the video, okay? Use the links if you would like to support me because I do get a little change from it. And yeah, make sure you like, you comment, subscribe. Let me know which of these books you've read or which ones you would like to read. And let's get into it for real this time. If you see me looking down, it is because I'm looking at the mini girl. This is my iPad mini. I read on her. I take notes on her. She is my homegirl. She goes where I go. All of the book covers will be on the screen. And again, just to reiterate, all links will be in the underneath bar, aka the description box. Okay? These I am actually going to tell you in order of which I read them. So at the beginning of the month, I read Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. This is one of my all-time favorite books. You guys have heard me talk about this so many times. It was the book club read for October. It was a lot of you guys' first Beverly Jenkins book, which makes me so excited. It is so good. It tells the story of a former slave whose hands and feet are dyed indigo because she was on an indigo plantation, who, falls in love with a man who works on the Underground Railroad, named the Black Daniel, who is... Galen is a man's man. Oh my gosh. It is a wonderful book for a lot of different reasons. I think it's one of my favorites. I know it's one of my favorites because of the conversation that it brings up about being loved even when you have flaws, right? Like that the things that you hate about yourself are the things that somebody else will love about you. And she was very self-conscious and insecure about her hands and her feet, and this man was walking around calling her his La Petite Indigo. And baby, I want somebody to call me their little indigo. Okay, absolutely loved it. The other reasons why I love this book is because it is informative. It is a depiction of our ancestors that makes them human, right? I think often people think about historical fiction and slavery and they think the worst, whereas this makes our ancestors human. They wanted to be loved too. They needed to be loved too. Was just awesome. Okay, awesome. It's spicy too. It's spicy too. I think a lot of the times we forget that historical fiction they was nasty. Our elders was hunching, baby. How you think you got here? It's a great book. Next, I read Big Nick Energy by Daniel Allen. This is why can't I think of the words? They're going to a homecoming for school that they went to. And the main character is very much given to Lulu. Mama was in love with this boy. She had a crush on him, but she felt like she wasn't cute enough in college to pursue him. And now that they are older, she is fine and established in many, many different ways. So she is going to this homecoming to get her man. And that's all I'm gonna tell you. It was very cute. Daniel Allen does not miss. I absolutely love her. Next up, I have The Secret World of Maggie Gray by Granger. This is a fantasy. It is a magical HBCU in Atlanta, Georgia. We meet Maggie Gray, who is at school, and she was supposed to write a paper about the civil rights era, and instead she tells a story about how when her grandmother was younger, during the civil rights, she went to a meeting that turned out to be a meeting of creatures, so vampires, fae, witches, right? And she gets in a situation with a vampire, and now we have Maggie Gray. And Maggie thinks that it is the story that her grandmother just told her, because her grandmother has dementia and it can't possibly be real, and she figures out that that is wrong and that she might possibly be related to the first family, which then leads her going to Drew Collins University, which is the magical HBCU, and a whole different chain of events happens. Like, I told you so much just now and nothing at all. There are mermaids. There are witches. There are werewolves. There are other shifters. There are so many different things. When I tell you I absolutely loved the first two books in this series, absolutely loved it. And it really is disheartening to see how many of you are kicking in the author's back because the editing needs work. The editing does need work, but the bones of this story, what she has, like, I can only imagine if she did have a better editor. It just makes me wonder why y'all don't know how to extend grace to authors that are trying. I don't understand that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So the thing that I read directly after that is The First Family, also by Granger. It is book 2. This goes into the family that Maggie Gray is allegedly related to, and all of this other stuff. I love the world. A lot of people say that it gives Harry Potter, and there are nods to Harry Potter, but it's just the representation that I've been looking for. If you loved Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams, his second book is coming out next year, by the way. I think you'll absolutely love this. And again, give her grace. They're very long books. It could use a better editor. It could, right? There were some grammatical errors. There are some things that maybe didn't necessarily make a lot of sense, but that doesn't take away from how good of a story it is. It was so good. I think y'all should read it right away. In the same vein of magical, spooky type things, I read This Cursed House by Del Sandine. This tells the story of a woman who gets a job working for a family in New Orleans, comes to find out they hire her because they think she can break a curse that is on this family. She finds out a whole bunch of stuff about herself, about her family lineage, and about magic. She can see ghosts. It really reminded me of, I do this every time, The Monsters We Defy. I do this every time I talk about This Cursed House. I can never remember the name of The Monsters We Defy. The Monsters We Defy is such a good book. It reminds me a lot of that book, with the things that the main character goes through, and just the ghost aspect of it and all that kind of stuff. Then I read Bitter and Sweet by Rhonda McKnight, which I enjoyed. It tells the story of two sisters that have a tumultuous relationship because of their traumas, that are called back home to the Low Country to help rescue or save the family restaurant while their grandmother is taking care of their sick grandfather. They learn things about themselves. They learn to love again. There is a historical fiction aspect to it, excuse me, because it kind of goes back and forth between their great grandmother and some things that she went through that kind of mimics the things that they're going through in the present day. It wasn't a bad book. I read the author's other book, The Thing About Home, and they were so similar to me. They were just so similar. So it kind of made me feel like I don't necessarily know that I want to read another book by her, because it felt like the same story in different fonts, if you know what I mean. And I understand that authors may do that because it will get them paid, right? It's safe for them. It just felt too similar to the first one to me, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Next, one of my favorite authors this year, author's masterpiece, I read Curvy Obsessions. This is the story of Tip, who, if you've read Bow Down and Vision, and if you've read Permission Please 1 and 2, then you will have heard of Tip, because he resides in that realm, that universe. Tip got some stuff going on with him, okay? He leaving a toxic relationship. He has a bit of a drug issue. He comes across a woman that is homeless. He tries to help her. That ends up with them growing their relationship together. That's all I will say. The spice was spicing. The story was very good. I read it in one sitting. It's 244 pages. It wasn't long. Masterpiece is one of my favorites. She is an automatic read. I will always stop what I'm doing to read whatever she writes. Next, I read The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. My God, today. The black men this year, when I tell you, between Percival Everett, Sibo Campbell, and Ta-Nehisi Coates, my God. I that's all I have to say. I don't even know. You have to read The Message. You have to read The Message. You have to read it. It's phenomenal. I don't even really know where to begin to tell you what it's about, so I'm not even going to bother. You have to read The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Listen to it. If you don't normally read nonfiction, listen to it. The audiobook is phenomenal. He is dropping so many gems. The way that he writes, the way that he connects the different things from his life to what he's learning now, to being able to open his mouth and to recognize and to affirm, right, to confirm that Jim Crow South Palestine and apartheid South Africa are all the same fucking place. My God, today, the confidence in his writing. The black men this year. The black men this year. The books, what did I do to deserve? I honestly, in awe of that book. In awe. Next, I read, we'll talk about all three of these together. So it was Unmistakable, Undeniable, and Unrestricted. They're all by Lucille Lillian. They are different holidays. So Valentine's Day, New Year's, and Juneteenth. And it's men from the Steel Empire motorcycle crew. They all fine. They all falling in love. One of them, he falls in love with his motorcycle brother's sister for New Year's. The other one, so the sister from the first one that he falls in love with, her brother falls in love with her best friend and plans a surprise wedding on Valentine's Day. So cute. And then the last one, they met at a Juneteenth picnic, and that was cute too. They were all super cute. It's they're short. You could read them all back to back to back. Then I read Cayin and Aura Part 2 from the This Ain't Love series. I loved it. This one is Cayin and Aura, This Is Forever. It's something about a man being able to say, you know what, I fucked up, but I want you. I like you and I want you. And he went and got what he wanted, and he put his mouth on it multiple times. That's my kind of carrying on. And then last but certainly not least, I read The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This was my second time reading The Nickel Boys. I read it the first time a few years ago. And it was moving then. This time, having read it so close to when I read The Reformatory by Tananarive Due has been an amazing experience, because I'm noticing the differences in the books, although they talk about the same place. and the same things, just very, very differently. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that was my reading for the month. I usually go over my stats in the beginning of the video, and I forgot to do that. So we can do stats now. I read a total of 13 books this month. Hold on. Not the app freezing up on me. Don't do that. So 13 books. That was 3,218 pages. The average time to finish was 2 days. I mostly read romance. Next up was historical fiction, then literary, and then fantasy. 69% of what I read was digital, 23% was audio, and 8% was print. I did do some ratings, but you know, I'm getting out of that. And both the things that I rated were The Nickel Boys and Indigo. Both of those were 5 stars. So yeah, that was my reading month. I told you it was better than I thought it was. I'm at a total of 118 books for the year. I wanted to at least end the year with 120, but now we're just gonna see where it gets me. I have no idea where I'm gonna end the year. I have no idea. So we'll see. Let me know down below in the comments if you made it this far in the video. If you have, leave a yellow heart. That's like yellow adjacent. Yeah, leave a yellow heart. If no one told you today, I love you. You are kind. You are smart. You are important. If to no one else, to me. Bye, friends.